What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about Gaza. Matter of fact, today, two videos I'm going to do today, both of which are going to be about Gaza. In this video, we are going to be talking about a basically a U.S. envoy that went to Gaza in the early months of what we now or have been calling a genocide, for the operations of Israel doing on Gaza. And this was an envoy that was tasked to identify what was happening there and report back to Washington the conditions that were happening, what was happening there, in order for the administration, Biden's administration at that time, to basically decide on what measures and how to go, what to do. And apparently this report was blocked. It was blocked by lower administration, preventing it from getting to Biden and the higher ups in the administration, which would have kept us, potentially, would have kept us from continuing the aid that we were continuing to provide Israel in that in those early days, and potentially even after that. But we're going to go over this because this is very interesting, and speaks to the corruption in our government, borderlining on treason, that people will go to defend and protect Israel. So it is just it's something else. So we're going to talk about this. Thank you very much for joining me here on Clear Talk. If you would like to check out more videos from the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to get more videos in front of more people. If you would like to check out videos from my other channels, JMDPLAY, Puzzling, if you like what you see, consider subscribing over there as well. Patreon there, $3 a month. You can support any of the channels that you would like. Help support to grow those channels, grow Patreon, grow JMD Nation, and contribute however you would like to contribute to JMD Nation. Any contribution or support you give is very much appreciated, and I thank you very, very much. And if you're returning, you are freaking amazing. You're amazing. Keep coming back. Thank you for coming back, because you are what makes JMD Nation. Okay, we're gonna swap over here. Check out this report. This is from Reuters. All right. And well, let me whoops, nope, not that shit. I'm gonna blow it up a little bit. Blow it up a little bit. All right. From Reuters, U.S. envoys blocked early warning of Gaza apocalyptic wasteland. All right. U.S. Agency for International Development staffers in early 2024 drafted a warning to senior officials in Joe Biden's administration. Northern Gaza had turned into an apocalyptic wasteland with dire shortages of food and medical aid. Okay? 3 months after October 7th. 3 months. 3 months. Is when this was after. This is when this happened. Hamas's attack on and Israel's incursion into the Gaza Strip. The internal message laid out in gruesome detail scenes observed by United Nations staffs who visited the area on a 2-part humanitarian fact-finding mission in January and February. Okay? The staff reported seeing a human femur and other bones on the roads, dead bodies abandoned in cars, and catastrophic human needs, particularly for food and safe drinking water. But the U.S. ambassador to Jerusalem, Jack Lew, U.S. ambassador to Jerusalem and his deputy, Stephanie Hallett, okay? Jack Lou Stephanie Hallett, blocked the cable from wider distribution within the United States government because they believed it lacked balance. It lacked balance, according to interviews with 4 former officials and documents seen by Reuters. It lacked balance. Oh, it made it look too one-sided, like Israel's just fucking it all up. Like Israel's doing a genocide. Just carpet bombing and destroying things and creating a humanitarian crisis. But the ambassador to Jerusalem and his deputy blocked it because they didn't feel that it was balanced. It didn't make Israel look good. Reuters is the first to report on the cable on why it was suppressed. Hallett and Liu did not respond to requests for comment. Of course they didn't. In February 2024, cable the February 2024 cable was one of 5 sent in the first part of that year, documenting the rapidly deteriorating health, food, and sanitary conditions and breakdown of social order for Palestinians living in Gaza, resulting from Israel's military campaign. 6 former U.S. officials told Reuters. Reuters saw one of those cables. The other 4, also blocked by Liu and Hallett, became because of their concerns about balance, were described by 4 former officials. 3 of former U.S. officials said that the descriptions were unusually graphic and would have commanded the attention of senior U.S. officials had the message been widely circulated within Joe Biden's administration. It would have also deepened scrutiny of national security memorandum issued by Biden that month, which conditioned the supply of U.S. intelligence and weapons on Israel's compliance with international law. This is what we're talking about. We are in a situation. We were in the moment where Biden was considering, trying to figure out, okay, we've got this thing going on here, where we've got to designate whether or not Israel is complying with international law. So we've got this envoy that's checking this stuff out to report back so that we can decide whether or not Israel is going against international law because we ourselves, the United States, has laws around. You cannot supply weapons and intelligence to a nation who is committing international law. It's U.S. law. This is something we've talked about before. So if he had gotten this report, okay, then he would have been pressured even harder to make the decision of, do we go along with our own laws and cut off the weapons and intelligence and the support, the money, or continue to do this against our own laws? But this report was blocked from getting to Joe Biden's administration. Now, does that mean that Joe Biden would have actually went through with it? I mean, who knows? There's a good chance that he wouldn't have. He may have continued, because we know Joe Biden is a pretty big supporter of Israel. That was one of his major downfalls in his whole presidency, was everything and how he interacted and around Israel and Gaza, for me. But who knows? He may have been pressured enough once the report came out that being like, damn, this is looking pretty bad. While cables weren't the only means of providing humanitarian information, they would have represented an acknowledgement by the ambassador of the reality of the situation in Gaza, said Andrew Hall, then a crisis operations specialist for USAID. The U.S. ambassador in Jerusalem oversaw the language and distribution of most of the cables about Gaza, including those from other embassies in the region. One former senior official said Liu and Hallett often told USAID leadership that the cables included information that had been widely reported in the media. Former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and representatives for former President Joe Biden did not respond to requests for comment about the fact that the cables never reached upper leadership of the U.S. government. As you know, the Gaza war started October 7th when Hamas killed about more than 1,250 people. The death toll in Gaza now stands at over 71,000, according to Palestinian Health Ministry data, which we know is ridiculously low. That's the deaths that they can actually literally confirm with their database, where they've had access to the bodies and they have been able to, whether visually, DNA test, whatever, or identifying, because a lot of them had like serial numbers or something on them or whatever, identifying their or names or whatever, identifying them. There's ones that they could actually identify as 71,000, but we know there are numerous untold amounts underneath the rubble or in mass graves that were dug and bodies thrown in, whether it was mostly by Israel. And so there are estimates of hundreds of thousands of people that have died. With Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by his side, Donald Trump announced his Gaza peace plan in the Oval Office last September. But the fight has not stopped. Some 481 people have been killed since the ceasefire. Like I've said multiple times, Israel does not abide by ceasefires. To them, a ceasefire is you cease, we continue to fire however we want. And it's just allowed to happen. Nobody pushes back on it. They continue to kill people. They continue to drop little bombs here and there, or they continue to snipe people here and there. I mean, it's a daily thing, a weekly thing, and nobody does a fucking thing about it. It's just normal at this point. The Biden administration's backing for Israel during the war deeply divided the Democratic Party and remains an unresolved issue for its political candidates. More than 80% of Democrats believe that Israel's military response in Gaza has been excessive and that the United States should help people in the enclave who are facing starvation, according to Reuters polls. That's the thing. The division in the Democratic Party is mostly actually voters versus politicians. We know there are many Democratic politicians that really don't have a problem at all, or at least they sort of play around it looks bad, but I mean, we got to support Israel, because we know a lot of Democratic Party politicians accept money and support from Israel lobbies. And the main ones is the Democratic leadership itself. And that's the reason why there hasn't been near about the amount of pushback as we have needed to have from the Democratic Party against what was happened in Gaza. But Democratic voters very much so do not agree with the genocide that has happened. And they do not agree with what has recently been brought up with the Board of Peace and this whole Gaza plan that Trump has put together. As the cables were being drafted in early 2024, the White House and other senior officials were broadly aware of the worsening humanitarian situation in northern Gaza from the National Security Council reporting. Four former officials said, and humanitarian organizations were warning of famine risks. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving, a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying, and it's got to stop, Biden told reporters at the White House in February, describing Israel's response in Gaza as over the top. So, I mean, even without this report, it was clear that Biden and them knew because of, other reports that were being said and stated that shit wasn't looking good. But yet they continued to support and give support, only blocking a few major things here and there, but ultimately continuing to give them money and give them the support that they needed to continue the genocide. In January 2024, the embassy did approve the wide distribution of a cable about food insecurity throughout Gaza, and the information made it to the president's daily briefing, a compilation by the intelligence community of the most important national security information and analysis. The cable, which was described to Reuters, looked at the risk of famine in North Gaza and the potential for severe food insecurity in the rest of the Strip because of the lack of food deliveries. It was one of the first detailed reports from USAID into the rapidly deteriorating situation inside Gaza, including growing food insecurities in the south of the enclave. That cable caught the attention of several White House officials, including Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner, who told colleagues he was surprised by how quickly the food situation had deteriorated, according to two of the former U.S. officials. Feiner did not respond to requests for comment, but senior U.S. officials were not receiving regularly first-hand accounts because of the restricted access to the area during an intense battle between Israel and Hamas, 6 former U.S. officials said. Simply put, humanitarian expertise was repeatedly sidelined, blocked, and ignored. A former member, by fucking Israel, because they didn't want anybody to see what was going on. It's the reason why they were so mad that over social media, shit was being put out all over the place, and they were trying to block what news crews and stuff could get in there or did have access already in there, like Al Jazeera. But all the while, their own fucking soldiers were putting stuff out there, showing their war crimes. This was a genocide that was broadcasted in full motherfucking 4K for everybody to see. This is not some old-time war where people didn't get to see shit. And you could just lie to people and they'd be like, and just have to accept it because they didn't fucking know any different. We live in an information age where shit is sent and shown and shared rapidly. You can't fucking delete that and just ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist. We saw it with our own fucking eyes. And you continue, just like we do in so many other things. And yet, the continuation of these leaderships in these countries, whether it's Israel or even our own motherfucking country, continue to pretend like they can just fucking lie and we'll just accept it. Like they don't even realize, or they think that we're so fucking dumb and ignorant that we will just be like, oh, we don't believe this and we didn't see this. Oh, you mean to tell me what I saw was not true? It was a lie? Oh, okay, I believe you. Because the citizens of the United States have such fucking confidence in our government, in the governments of other countries. Give me a fucking break. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculous how pathetic these leaderships are, and how ridiculously but to their credit, there is a certain percentage of voters and citizens of the United States who are apparently completely disconnected from reality or just ignorant enough to believe the fucking lies over and over and over and over and over again. And honestly, that's all they really need. They only need just a little bit. They only need a little bit. They only need a few. And get them up in an uproar just to give them enough legitimacy to continue what the fuck they're doing. Well, these people are happy with what we're doing, so, Until Ben is too sensitive. Until the USAID was reduced to a skeleton staff inside the State Department by Trump administration, U.S. officials relied heavily on the agency's reporting in situations where diplomatic presence and human intelligence was scarce. Because USAID has had no staff inside Gaza since 2019. Much of that reporting drew on information provided by UN agencies, including UNRWA and Palestinian Refugee Agency, the Palestinian Refugee Agency, and international aid organizations funded by the U.S. government. That dependence on third-party parties distributed to some Biden officials skepticism of USAID reporting, 3 former U.S. officials told Reuters. Biden's Middle East envoy, Brett McGurk, and his aides often asked in meetings if the USAID had verified the information and why it diverged, sometimes drastically, from Israel's version of events. Oh, really? The 3 former officials said. McGurk declined to comment. So we had Biden officials who were willing to accept Israel's version of what was going on over our own intelligence and what information it was gathering, and how, since it diverged and didn't line up with Israel's version of the events, we want to, instead of bringing into question Israel's version, we're going to bring into question our own intelligence. In several instances, the former officials said White House officials pushed back on USAID analysis that suggested civilians were starving in Gaza. They're not starving. Yeah, they're not starving. Skepticism about the U.S. government's humanitarian reporting stirred tensions inside the National Security Council and angered USAID officials working on the Gaza portfolio. The question was always like, where are all the skinny kids? Wow. If they're starving, then there should be a bunch of skinny kids. The inhumanity of some of these fucking people that were in Biden's administration and the even fucking worse ones in Trump's administration now. Just completely inhumane, uncaring, unconsiderate, incompassionate, selfish, ridiculous excuse for human beings, in my opinion. The 2 former officials said Hallett sometimes called for cables to be reframed or edited. She questioned the necessity of one cable, which focused on health, arguing that much of the information was in the public domain. 2 of the former Biden officials also said Hallett sometimes viewed USAID disaster team cables as too sensitive to be published during contentious negotiations on a ceasefire and hostage deal. Bruh. The February 2024 cable that Northern Gaza drew in a fact-finding mission by UNRWA, the UN Mine Action Service, and the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, according to 2 former officials and documents reported by Reuters. The cable cleared USDA's West Bank and Gaza mission offices and the State Department's Office of Palestinian Affairs before Hallett barred wider distribution, according to the documents reviewed by Reuters. Cables only needed one sign-off from the head office in the embassy, and Hallett would not have barred its distribution without Lou's knowledge or approval, 2 officials said. These 2 people, Lou and Hallett, they need to be investigated. they need to have charges brought against them. They had reporting that could potentially have altered the actions of the administration and how we were supporting Israel in this fucking genocide. And this is early on, 3 months in. 3 months in, we could have prevented, or at the very fucking least, reduced the amount of people that died in the conditions in which Israel continued to process their actions and attacks and a destruction, death that they were continuing to lay upon the innocent people of Gaza, while they were acting like they were being precise and taking out Hamas, but yet they were completely carpet bombing the fuck out of Gaza, killing thousands of people indiscriminately. And with this type of report, it would have put pressure, potentially enough pressure on the administration to pull back. Now, this not to excuse that there wasn't other reporting and enough other reporting that should have did the same thing, honestly. So I'm not in any way trying to give one to the Biden administration, be like, oh, well, if they would have had this report, they would have known. So, oopsie and it's not their fault. Fuck that. It is their fault. It is their fault that they ignored all the signs and all the reporting that they did have access to that should have decided and made them pull back support, or at the very least pressure Israel to calm the fuck down. But instead, they continue to allow them to do what they were doing. They continue to not pressure them into accepting ceasefire deals over and over and over again. Israel just completely skirting around them, being like, you know what, never mind, we're not going to do this. Claiming that they would do something, then moving the goalposts, claiming they would accept something, then moving the goalposts, claiming they would accept something, then moving the goalposts over and over and over and over and over again. And even with the couple of times they did have a ceasefire, just like now, they continue to fucking kill people. Because Israel thinks that they have pure impunity and can do whatever the fuck they want, and nobody will do shit about it. These people need to be investigated and charges brought against them. The Biden administration needs to be investigated and charges brought against those in the administration. The Trump administration needs investigations and stuff. When this is all said and done, I can only hope that we somehow get somebody in office that will have the balls and the integrity to look back on the entire actions of our U.S. government in our aid to Israel in this moment in history over the past 2 years, and actually bring justice to what has happened. But quite honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it would ever happen. Because like other things in history, especially around the United States, it's like, yeah, it was bad, but you know, it's that's history, and we forgive, forgive and forget. Fuck that. Fuck that. You can't turn back history. You can't delete and rewrite what we have all witnessed the past 2.5 years. It has been widely and clearly, extensively documented in reports, in pictures, in video. You cannot fucking lie to us. And I know the first thing was, yeah, but Hamas, Hamas. Yeah, I fucking know. Hamas did an egregious attack. But what happened on October 7th did not give Israel the right to do what they have done since. Nor does it erase all the shit that they've done prior. October 7th was exactly what Israel wanted to happen. That's the reason why it has been brought into question why Netanyahu pulled people from the area to begin with. When he had been reported on, it had been reported to him, and he had already been made aware that there was potentially an action going to be made by Hamas. And he ignored it. Or excused it as, it's not really going to happen. Oh, and let's pull people because we want to do some shit over here. Just coincidentally, around the same time, when you would think that a leader would be a leader who cares so much about his people and so much about protecting his people, that even if he did think that it wasn't actually going to come to fruition, you knew the timeline in which this reporting was given to you and that it potentially could happen. You would think, just for fuck's sakes, for shits and giggles, you would at least keep some people there just in fucking case. But no, he pulled them. And then October 7th happened. From reporting even to the surprise of Hamas, how successful it was to be able to break through the barrier. But also, not forgetting the nuance in all of even October 7th, that it wasn't even just Hamas. It was multiple other groups that came in and did actions. But when it comes around these things, nobody fucking cares about nuance. It's just blame this person or blame that person, or this justifies this, and mountain to a molehill. I mean, the sheer argument that a small strip of land with a, guerrilla-like militant force of only roughly 30,000 people that has, minimal, gun access and it creates explosive out of makeshift, like used material from Israel dropping stuff in the area. Basically just using Israel's own weapons back against them at a, let's be honest, a degraded condition against a government that is supported and protected and provided all of their resources, damn near it, by the largest, biggest, most successful country and military operation in the motherfucking world. And yet Israel pretends like they are the ones that, the government pretends like they are the ones that are, we're such victims. We have to fear for our lives. Well, you have a fucking golden dome, iron dome, whatever, that literally prevents the majority of what actually ever came out of Gaza to not even reach your ground. It's really a pathetic argument. This report is huge. This report is huge and shows just how much corruption and or just sheer blind ignoring of conditions that were going on in the name of continuing to provide aid and military might to a country and a government that was carrying out, in most people's eyes in the world, a clear genocide, an eradication of a people because of hatred and power and control and imperial ideology to take over and expand, which has been the case of Israel for decades now. The greater Israel. Our government knew what was going on. And it was ignored. And we must not forget that. Let me know what you think. Until next time, peace. Clear Talk. I'm out.